Welcome, relentless detectives of backstage truths and lovers of the great spectacle of stardom. You've tuned in to a revealing deep dive from Whispers of Turkish Stars, where we sift through the sparks, the silence, and the storms. Today we follow a thread that runs from a red carpet remark to a set sealed by discipline, and a premiere that now looks like a trial by fire. At the center of it all stand two names that define modern Turkish drama for an entire generation. Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yağız. And orbiting their newest milestone, a voice that has learned how to bend headlines, Halil Ibrahim Ceyhan. Settle in. The stage lights are hot and the whispers are colder than ice. Everything took shape in the charged lull before a television season explodes into motion. Announcers promised innovation, producers whispered about budgets that made rivals frown, and one project rose above the noise with the confidence of a crown jewel. Dr. Başka Hayata, the series formerly known as Document. From the first poster, expectations melted into certainty. The lead role of Professor Dr. Inan Kural belongs to Gökberk Demirci, whose stoic charisma and precise sensitivity are said to cut through even the loudest of sets. Opposite him, Özge Yağız steps into Elif, a character whose emotional radiance and quiet determination mirror the qualities that have made Özge a favorite with audiences who crave sincerity more than spectacle. The promise was clear, a technically daring production, a narrative that aimed for both brain and heartbeat, and a couple whose shared history in front of and away from the camera could translate into something that refuses to stay on the page. Yet just as the orchestra readied its first triumphant chord, a lone trumpet sounded an off note. At a crowded cultural event filled with carefully curated smiles and a thicket of microphones, Halil Ibrahim Ceyhan offered comments that instantly reoriented the conversation. He was composed, he did not seek volume. But his phrasing cut deep enough that the industry felt the sting. He observed, with a grave clarity, that certain productions are crowned as monumental before a single scene reaches the public eye, and that marketing has a habit of anointing legends long before viewers have had the chance to believe in them. He insisted that labels slapped onto trailers don't conjure greatness by decree. The words landed like pebbles tossed into still water, quiet, steady, and impossible to ignore. He didn't stop at the glittering facade. He moved to the foundation. Success, he implied, is a careful equation that can't be solved by names printed in bold. It is built from the alignment of story and performance, the unbroken chain between script and execution. A famous face can lift a poster, but it can't rescue a weak idea. Spoken without heat, those lines felt like a test sent to every project that leans on hype. And because the actors now carrying Dr. Başka Hayata are Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yağız, the interpretation was immediate. A nudge that some read as a philosophical musing and others as a perfectly aimed dart. The online reaction detonated on cue. Admirers of Halil's frankness applauded what they called a necessary correction, a reminder that art is not a lottery of billboards, and that the television machine, drunk on promotion, sometimes forgets to breathe. Meanwhile, Özge's supporters defended her with an intensity that has defined her rise, furious at the notion that a project she has poured heart and discipline into would be reduced to a headline. Gökberk's fans carried his long-earned reputation for steadiness into the responses, noting that if any pairing could turn noise into narrative, it would be this too. And in between the shouting, you could hear a smaller chorus whispering that the only certainty is the premiere itself. Friends of Whispers of Turkish Stars, we want to know where your compass points. Is this a sober critique of a system drunk on buzz? Or a tactical swipe aimed at the very moment when a rival ship unveils its sails? Tell us what you think below. If you value these measured dissections of rumor and reality, subscribe, tap the bell, and consider joining our community. Your presence is the fuel that keeps this light shining. Beyond the uproar, behind the guarded doors of Dr. Başka Hayata, a different weather pattern held sway. The set, by all accounts, was clean with concentration. Özge Yağız chose a weapon that doesn't make noise, work. Not a single flamboyant post, no reactive quote, no late-night replies spiked with hurt. Those who have watched her rehearse say that she lives inside Elif's skin with an unfussy intensity, that she focuses on breath, position, and the music of each line. For Özge, the answer to doubt is not a paragraph on social media, it is a scene performed so truthfully that the camera forgets to blink. As for Gökberk Demirci, his crew describes him the way sailors describe a lighthouse, a fixed point that reappears every time the fog grows thick. He has been here before, surrounded by rumor, measured by eyes that don't blink, and he has learned to slow down when others accelerate. Those close to him repeat a phrase that has floated around the production office like a protective spell: time unwraps the truth, and the work will speak in a voice no argument can match. It is not apathy. It is a choice to invest energy where it compounds: the scene, the partnership, the patient architecture that builds a character from the inside out. The director, who has kept statements spare and efficient, allowed one sentiment to slip through during a late-night meeting. Controversy has a way of forcing clarity. The team, facing a storm they did not ask for, tightened like a rope under pressure. The prevailing mood became us against the echo. The crew watched monitor feeds with a new alertness. The cast rehearsed beats until they tightened under the hand. And when the camera settled on Gökberk and Özge, Professor Dr. Inan Kural and Elif, what many feared would feel staged instead read like an immediate pulse. Their rapport, equal parts warmth and restraint, built itself in real time, moment by moment, until the takes began to glow. Doubt, for those inside, was replaced not by shouting but by craft. Back outside, the take economy kept spinning. Communication strategists called Halil's timing exquisite. When competitors drum at their loudest, a single, poised contradiction can flip the headline cycle. Some producers, usually off the record, always with that knowing smile, called it a brave break with the script of polite promotion, a gambit that may embolden a new class of actors to challenge the pageantry that wraps the business. But beneath the compliments lurked a caution familiar to anyone who's spent a decade in this arena: the industry has a long memory. Refusing the etiquette of nods and niceties can redraw alliances. Doors open, some creak shut. Risk, in other words, is not theoretical. Halil, for his part, declined to elaborate beyond a short follow-up. He underlined that his critique was not aimed at persons, that he spoke from a professional vantage, and that he would rather be misread than be insincere. The firmness of that stance guaranteed that the discussion would feed itself for weeks, feeding on interpretations, reactions, and the endless scroll of clips framed by neon captions. And so the horizon point narrowed to a single night, the first broadcast of Dr. Baska Hayata. Will the series confirm its lofty promises, turning the weight of expectation into a platform? Or will the show, swollen by its own prelude, struggle to match the myth? The paradox is clear. The quarrel that questions hype has created even more of it. Viewers who might have waited to catch up now plan to watch live. Commentators will be taking notes with the eagerness of exam proctors. Numbers, suddenly, are not just numbers, they are verdicts disguised as ratings. Inside the studio, the schedule runs like a heartbeat you can measure on a wrist. Scene after scene, Özge returns to Elif's transitions, how she listens, when she withdraws, where she lets her eyes reveal what the line withholds. Across from her, Gökberk calibrates Professor Dr. Inan Kural's blend of authority and softness, the cadence of the specialist who has seen too much to be naive and still refuses to become unkind. Their scenes together, insiders say, are starting to carry the density that only arrives when past and present cooperate, the understanding that comes from shared history, sharpened by a decision to move forward like professionals. If there was ever a doubt about whether they could translate that file of memories into something credible on screen, the monitors have started to answer. All the while, the shadow of a comment hangs over the frame, a reminder that fame is not just applause. It is also trial. Perhaps that is why the creative team has begun to look at the uproar as a crooked gift. Pressure has a way of erasing indulgence. If the series wins, it will do so with muscles strengthened by resistance. And if it stumbles, the noise will not be the reason, it will be the echo. This, dear audience of Whispers of Turkish Stars, is gossip in its most revealing form, not a scandal thrown like confetti, but a portrait of ambition needing scrutiny. Gökberk, Demirci and Özge Yağız did not ask for a public test, but they are taking it on without flinching. Halil Ibrahim Sayhan did not raise his voice, yet the calmness of his doubt made it louder. The result is a narrative that begs to be watched, debated, replayed, and judged in the only court that matters in this medium, the living room, the phone screen, the quiet space where a story either reaches you or it doesn't. So tell us. Do you trust the steady confidence coming from the set, or do you think the warning shot was warranted? Are bold words a needed corrective, or just clever stagecraft? Add your voice below. If you want us to compare Gökberk's past performances with the precise demands of Professor Dr. Inan Kural, or to trace how Özge's approach to Elif echoes and departs from her earlier roles, leave a note. And if you appreciate the care we take to separate heat from light, hit subscribe, activate the bell, and consider tapping join to support the work we do here at Whispers of Turkish Stars. Every member shifts the balance toward stories told with patience and clarity. Industry veterans will tell you that fame ages in dog years. One remark today becomes the backstory of tomorrow's victory lap or its postmortem. Some backers see strategy in every syllable Halil chose, a way of ensuring his name circulates as the season shakes out and his own projects sharpen to a point. Others fear that today's bravery may be read as tomorrow's provocation by institutions that prefer well-mannered applause to unscripted critique. The truth is probably less theatrical. Nobody in this arena survives without risk, and the line between calculation and conviction changes color under different lights. Meanwhile, the countdown continues. The first episode's final sound mix locks tomorrow. Publicity pieces are scheduled, though toned down by an unspoken agreement to let the show breathe. The cast group chat stays practical, call times, costume notes, and occasional joke traded late after wrap. When cameras roll, Gökberk and Özge avoid the grand gestures that draw gossip photographers like moths. They reserve their energy for the takes. The crew reports a certain hush when they start a scene together, not because people expect off-screen sparks, but because attention collects where it is earned. Will Dr. Baska Hayata live up to its ambition? We are about to know. Maybe this uproar will end up as the wind that filled its sails. Maybe it will be a footnote drowned out by applause. Maybe the premiere will divide and ignite and divide again, as all living stories do. Whatever the verdict, the most interesting truth has already emerged. There is still a hunger for work that proves itself the old-fashioned way. There is still respect for stars who meet criticism with craft, and for critics who risk being unpopular to say what they believe. For now, the image is simple. Özge Yağız leaves the set carrying Elif's tenderness like a residue she will wash off before sleep. Gökberk Demirci says goodnight to a character whose spine he has begun to understand. Somewhere else, Halil Ibrahim Seyhan reviews a day's worth of misunderstandings and stands by the intent behind his words. And you, out there, prepare to judge the only way that counts, by watching with an open mind. We'll keep our ears against the rail and our eyes on the monitors. If a new tremor runs through this story, you will hear it here first. Until then, be part of the conversation that shapes the narrative. Comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and join our circle at Whispers of Turkish Stars so we can continue to bring you the careful storytelling that this world of glitter and grit deserves. In this game, nothing is as simple as it looks, and everything is still being written. Stay close. The premiere is approaching, the sets are humming, and somewhere in the middle of praise and protest, the truth is about to reveal its face. And when it does, we'll be here. Watching the work speak, listening for the silence after the hype, and following the thread wherever it leads, from spotlight to shadow and back again.